I really want to appreciate the facilitators that we have joining us tonight for this amazing call. Marlene and Bob, from the first time I met you, I find you to be grounded and loving and so full of life. And what I really love is so full of experience of how to navigate relationship in beautiful ways. So I so appreciate you being here. And I want to go ahead and turn the call over to you and let you introduce yourselves.
Okay, thank you very much, Michelle. Well, here we are. I'm Bob, and that's Marlene over there. And it's interesting. We've been together for we've been married for over 50 years now. We're a long-term couple who has had many experiences that we have navigated through over the years. It's been an amazing adventure, and we're couples counselors. We have graduated way back in 2004, I guess, from the Hendricks program. So we've been couples coaches now for a long time, and we're really enjoying doing a bit of it now. We're mostly retired.
We were introduced to Gay and Kathleen Hendricks by the book Conscious Loving in the early 1990s. And we've been exploring the topic we're going to be talking about tonight, the upper limit pattern, since that time. So we've really explored it in our own relationship and with lots and lots of couples.
Yeah, we actually had a couple this afternoon where we explored it with. So yeah, it's pretty current with us.
So, but before we get into that, we want to do a little activity just to get us all presence and grounding. And this activity is called tossing. And so tossing is something, if you've been to any of Katie's programs, you may have done with her. She often does it with balloons, but we're part of an improv team and we've been tossing on Zoom. So basically I'm going to start, and I'm going to start with this thing that I have here. And in a minute, a few seconds maybe, I'm going to toss it to one of you. But, of course, on Zoom, when I toss it to one of you, you won't know who I'm tossing it to you. So you might think it's coming to you. And if you get this thing I tossed to you, I want you to play with it. And then I want you to appreciate it. And then I want you to change it and toss it to someone else. So here it goes. Let's see.
And get ready to catch.
It.
There goes. Who got it? Oh man.
A few people
got it. It's great. Okay. I want you to play around with that now. And toss it to somebody else. Where is it going there? Oh, there goes one.
Oh, I got one.
Oh.
Somebody tossed me one.
Somebody else keep tossing.
Mine's like real.
Oh. I see that there's one just about ready to go. Oh, there is. I got it. You did not. I got that one. This one's kind of weird. Are you ready out there? Get ready to catch. Here it comes. Whoa! Wow, that was a good catch over there. I saw that catch. Yeah. Oh man, somebody got it in the face. Did you see that one?
Play with it.
Oh, play with it.
Appreciate it.
And
I like the way there's two people are playing.
Yeah.
Oh, that was big.
Yeah, I don't know. Jeez.
Oh, okay, so take a breath. Notice what's happening in your body with just a minute of play. So we're going to tell you a story. This is a story about us. This is a real story. It really happened. And we had probably had this similar experience many, many times, but this is the first time that it really hit us exactly what was going on.
Yeah, so in 1996, we took a year off our work. We bought a camper van and we got lost in North America. It was wonderful. And about 7 weeks into it, we were having such a good time. It was like, man, it's the best ever. And we're on one of the islands off the coast of British Columbia. And it's in September, everybody's working, not us. And it's a beautiful day, perfect day. We're at the edge of a cliff. We're looking over the coast range with all beautiful mountains.
And I looked at Bob and I said, I am so lucky. I am so much in love. And 5 minutes later, we had a fight. We had a big fight.
We had an epic fight.
The fight lasted 3 days. Now, during those 3 days, we were in this 19-foot camper van, and of course, it started raining. And I wanted to abort the entire trip. The fight was because Bob didn't get the camera out fast enough to take the picture of the pileated woodpeckers.
No, that's great content.
Inexcusable. But the fight soon became about all the hundreds and thousands of times that he hadn't listened to my need. Like I said, take a picture. He hadn't done it. And then, lo and behold, the fight became about fighting, how we fight, how you don't listen, how you don't talk right, how your voice is the wrong tone, how you blah, 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 blah. Well, 3 days of this, and suddenly, somehow, the book, Conscious Loving, popped off of the shelf, and I went, oh my God, I've read about this. And I said, I think this is an upper limit. And then I realized that in between the I'm so lucky, I'm so much in love, and how dare you not take that picture, I'd actually had a thought. And this, I realized, is a thought I've had thousands of times. I still have that thought. That thought was, this is too good to be true. This won't last. Now, that might not be familiar to you, but that's my special, unique, to me, upper limit clue. When I have the thought, this won't last, this is too good to be true, I can't sustain this, I'm heading for an upper limit.
Now, I have a very different thing happening to me here. You heard what's happening there. Me, I'm just looking around saying, it's so good. It's so good here. I want this to last. I want to grab a hold of this, and I want this good time to last. And then I had this little niggle, and the niggle's a really important thing. Marlene will not allow us to have this good time. She is going to do something so it won't last. Now, notice, I want it to last. Such a good thing, isn't it? But then this little blame thing starts coming up, saying, she won't let it happen.
So this is something that's really important for couples to realize, that if you get involved in trying to figure out who caused a conflict, you're heading down a detour. Because as soon as you come with your little thing, your little part of the pattern, and you come close to your partner,
notice what's going to happen
here. They just grabbed each other. Who caused that? Who started that? I don't just. And the more they struggle, the more they get caught. And trying to figure out who caused this doesn't help, because it's the interlock.
And they're pretty interlocked, aren't they?
They're interlocked. They can't get out. These magnets are really strong. So it's the interlock. That's the problem.
Now, notice our interlock. Our interlock has to do with her doing something, me quite different something.
So mine is, it won't last.
Mine is make it last. You make it last. I know how to make it last. That's a lie. I know how to make it last, however, what appears.
And then we're caught. So back up a little bit. What exactly is an upper limit? So we have a definition here, which I'm going to read, and I think Michelle will put in the chat. So we all have an upper limit on how much love and positive energy we allow ourselves to experience. Too much joy and love and happiness or positive energy gets us high, and this trips the upper limit switch, making us unconsciously come back down to a more familiar level. So it looks like this. So let's say, here's your thermostat setting. This is where you sort of normally live.
I.e., that I can stand that much good stuff in my life.
Now, remember, this is unconscious. So then as you start to go above your thermostat setting, somewhere up here, something happens. Now, this here is what we call the upper limit pattern. It's not what happens after that. This is the upper limit pattern.
Now, some people say, "Oh, it's what I do," and I fall down and I don't, I have a horrible time. Pay attention to where you start this, though.
So one possibility and one thing that a lot of people do is they go way, 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 way down here, and then they do this thing, which Gay and Katie talk about as the drama triangle. But if you don't know anything about that, Michelle promised us there'd be a class in this in about a year, in the next year.
Yeah.
But it's some combination of bad me, poor me, bad you, rescue me. It's conflict. So all of this that happens after the upper limit, that's the optional stuff. The upper limit is just part of life. In fact, we've grown to realize that the upper limit is actually something to be celebrated. It tells me I'm expanding my capacity for good stuff. So we want you to take some time right now. We're going to lead you through a little activity, and we want you to find a place to be comfortable. Maybe soften your gaze or close your eyes, because we're going to ask you to reflect on something. And you don't need to write this down because it's going to be in the chat for later, and you're going to be able to save it and go over this. So just relax and close your eyes, soften your gaze, and take a few deep breaths, and think about a time when you recently lost connection with someone who's important to you. A time when something happened to take you out of a sense of closeness or a sense of feeling good about a person, feeling connected, feeling close to that person.
What was the other person doing that ruined the closeness connection, the good feeling? Notice I said, what was the other person? it may be easier to see the other person's role in this before your own. You may think your partner or friend is causing the upper limit. So I want you to get curious about your own role. Let go of blame. Focus now. What is my role?
What did you do unconsciously to ruin the closeness, connection, and good feeling? Take a few minutes and think about something happened. You may even know what your partner did. What did you do?
Now, what is the story that you made up about what was happening there?
Or in other words, what was your perception? How did you come to think about it?
Now, pay some attention to yourself and your body. What are the sensations in your body as you think about this?
As you think about that time when you lost connection, when you lost that sense of closeness, maybe you thought your partner did something, but when you start to think about your role, what happens in your body? What happens to your breath? What happens to your jaw, your shoulders, your chest, your belly?
Now, ask yourself this question. You've had an upper limit thing happen up there. What was going on just before this upper limit event? What was going on? Now, what was going on preceding this event? Why might this have been happening right at this time?
What else is going on that you might have unconsciously needed to put a lid on it? Why might this be happening right at that time? So we're going to ask Michelle to put you into breakout rooms, and we want you to share with the people in your breakout rooms any things, any thoughts you had doing that little activity, any questions you might have, any insights, any experience. You've got about 10 minutes before we come back. We'll see you in 10 minutes.
Right. And after that, we're going to have a little bit of debrief and possibly a question or two.
And more sharing from us. See you later.
Music.
So, welcome back, everybody. And we'd like just a very brief few minutes for questions that you just really need to have answered,
or maybe something important came up and you'd like to share something. So unmute yourself and say whatever you'd like to say.
I have one. I'm Jason. Mine involved shoes and something insignificant. And what I realized when I was doing the process was that there were multiple things that I wasn't revealing. I wasn't revealing some truth about like thoughts and opinions that I had. And I wasn't revealing my true feelings. We were having this really great time and we'd been together for a while and then we were about to spend 2 weeks apart and I had feelings that I wasn't revealing.
Great example. Yeah, great example.
Somebody else.
Vi?
Yeah, I just have a curiosity. I liked that how you guys had the magnetic people that got stuck together. And so what I'm noticing a pattern is like, I'll go to that magnetic pattern, but the person involved won't stick to my pattern because they've got skills. And like, I'm just curious about that. Like, is that still an upper limit, you know, on my end, even if they don't get caught by it?
Yeah, I would say it is. And I'm just going to show you what I think. What I think is the normal, healthy learning opportunities is that gradually you raise your thermostat setting.
Mm.
And then when the upper limit still happens, when the upper limit comes along, instead of going down and jumping on the drama triangle and going around there and staying there for 3 days, like I did in that example, you can go down, you come back up sooner, you go up faster, you don't go down as far.
Mm.
And we were working with a couple on Zoom this afternoon, and that's exactly what had happened. She had her very, very familiar worry thought, which she doesn't always express very gracefully.
Mm.
But this time, instead of taking offense and going down here,
Mm-hmm.
he had just listened. And together, I mean, she still had her own possibility, her own opportunity to jump on the drama triangle.
Mm.
But together, they experienced the upper limit and they sort of rode the wave.
Mm.
So I would say that's still an upper limit.
Yeah.
And think of it this way, there's nothing bad here. It's just the waves happen.
In fact,
Waves keep flowing in. It's like the ocean. It never stops.
in fact, we don't believe that you ever stop experiencing upper limits. We believe that you just raise your thermostat setting higher and higher and higher. You still experience upper limits, but if you learn about this, then you get the opportunity to raise your thermostat setting and ride the wave. Now, I wanted to say one thing, because when I first heard this from Gay and Katie, it really threw me for a loop. And that is the sort of idea that the upper limit problem or upper limit pattern is the only problem you ever need to solve. And it took me a long time to realize that really what they're saying is all those other problems that you think you have, like shoes and, not responding to my requests and all those things.
Or who takes out the garbage?
Or the toothpaste tube, or, some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller, but they're all the content. And if you can see the content through the lens of an upper limit pattern, and if you can And if your partner can see the content through the lens of the upper limit pattern, you can avoid a whole lot of drama. Now, I want to just say one thing, because this is, a number of our clients have gotten stuck on this one, is Gay once said to us that, you know, like 10% of all relationships are toxic. And if you're in a toxic relationship, you really should just get out as fast as possible.
Yeah, and if you're a coach, you'll help them get out of that. And they exist. However,
80% of all relationships are learning relationships. So this is for a learning relationship. If you're in a toxic relationship, we wouldn't recommend you try to get your partner to see what's happening as an upper limit.
but in the other learning relationships, yes. And you know, if both of you, and this is wonderful, can get on board as a team, okay, as a team, it can be such magic to say, oh man, here's our pattern coming up. What do we want to do about that pattern? It's like that couple this afternoon. It was like, here it's coming up. We know this. What can I do? He said, I need to listen to her. Sure. Simple, isn't it? I need to listen to her. He broke the pattern.
One more question or example?
I have a question. I'm trying to learn from my failed relationships of the past, and I'm looking back and I'm realizing that what do you do with someone who's withdrawing? Seems to have been a difficult spot for me. And both in dealing with or feeling like it was my fault, or that there was, or I did something wrong, or the various and sundry thoughts about right. Lots
So
of stuff got triggered.
I would say the something happens. And
before the withdrawal.
Okay.
That's not the upper, the withdrawal is not the upper limit. The withdrawal is what that person does because of their upper limit, okay? And I don't know if you've done any other things with the Hendricks, but if you can look up things like about fear and fear melters.
Yeah.
Withdrawal is a flight response.
Okay.
Okay, so there's fight or flight, freeze and faint. Withdrawal is a flight response. What's yours is what you do after the upper limit.
Okay.
So what you do is did I do something wrong? What's going on here? Is it his fault? Is it her fault? Did he, what, maybe if I do this, it'll fix it, all of that.
Right. Yes. A whole palaver of.
Right.
Yeah. So one of the keys here is go back up there and get curious. What was happening then? What was happening just before then?
Okay.
So there was a potential possibly for some more closeness, some intimacy, and then the upper limit happened. I also want to show you, because we just really need to say that there's another pattern.
I'm just gonna hold that.
So there we've got our thermostat setting. So there's another pattern that we became very aware of.
We call it pulp, P-U-L-P. Pulp meaning preemptive upper limit pattern.
So the preemptive upper limit pattern is where you unconsciously do the thing before you even get above your thermostat setting. So for instance, here's another personal example. At one point in my life, I looked back and I realized that we had a fight every Friday night for 6 months in a row. And that was a period in our life when our kids were, old enough to have a friend over, go for a sleepover, watch video. Friday night, we had set aside for our date night.
And I'd cook something. I'd be ready. I'd be sitting down. I'd open up the bottle of wine.
And before we even took a sip, before we even had that first little, I'm happy to see you, we had a fight.
It'd be something like this. I'd look at her and I'd say, I see that look on your face. You're going to pick a fight, aren't you? And by the way, who's picking the fight here? I mean, it's simultaneous, but we would look at each other and then the knives would come out, right?
Defense is the first act of war.
Preemptive.
It was preemptive. It was a fear response. It was a fight response. It could be as simple as Bob saying, hey, come sit on my lap, and me saying, well, you probably want sex, don't you? Or something.
The answer
like
is
that.
we both had planned to have sex.
The answer is I probably wanted sex.
Yeah, we both wanted to have sex. But let's have a fight about sex now.
So we would have this fight on Friday night, all day Saturday and most of Sunday, we wouldn't talk to each other. Somehow on Sunday night, we would make up enough to go back to work, busy jobs, families, whatever,
Until the next Friday night.
And then we'd have another fight.
But it really kept us below, actually, our limit.
Yeah, so we never actually hit an upper limit in those days. We were so used to staying under a particular line. I'm glad we don't do that one anymore. I want you to just take a minute and think about some time. Again, you can close your eyes or soften your gaze. Some time when you were anticipating closeness or connection and something happened to destroy it before it even started. And just think about it. Is there any pattern there, any similarity between the time when you were way above your limit? Do you also know how to preemptively keep your limit low? So we'll leave that with you. You can apply the same questions we asked earlier to that one. That one has been extremely rich for us in helping us catch these things before we get anywhere near them. We don't need to do the drama. In fact, the whole drama thing is optional. The crash, I was talking to somebody recently and they were talking about, they had just been learning about the upper limit and they were talking about the crash. And I said, the crash isn't the upper limit. The crash is optional. The upper limit is the thing that happens before you crash. And then the crash is what you do to keep yourself from bouncing back.
And remember when we said, you don't have to go all the way down there. You can ride that wave. And particularly together, you can ride the wave and get curious what's going on.
So the upper limit pattern is not a problem to fix.
Notice that statement. Most of us seem to have gotten caught somewhere saying, oh, we got to get over that problem. It's not something to fix. It's a fact of experience, a fact of life. And how can you simply accept yourself for having upper limits?
Celebrate them.
Yeah.
So we want to spend the next 5-10 minutes about what do we do when we experience an upper limit?
Or how can we maintain our expansiveness, even though, expansiveness isn't static, it's more and it's less and it's more. How can we ride that wave of expansiveness? And the first thing we do is we name it. It's an upper limit. I'm having an upper limit about this right now. Notice that I said, I'm having an upper limit.
Not you.
I didn't say we. I said, I am.
Or even, I think recently I said, could that potentially be an upper limit? Like, could we make this, like, because it's often, there's probably 10, 20, 30, 50 times a day that there's the potential for a misunderstanding or a miscommunication or a little nya, nya, nya. And, often we're able to just ride them, but sometimes they just have that little edge. And I know that I could turn this into an upper limit, or I can just name it as one and just ride that wave.
And if I can say, what am I doing here? Own it, then I can often get her collaboration as a team to do something.
Now, we consider it an advanced move, but I know some of you are advanced players, and that is to make it bigger. Rather than try and squash it, make it go away, if we can play with it, make it bigger, we'll do this kitchen isn't big enough for the two of us, and we'll start doing some little friendly jostling and playing.
Or, I'm in charge here.
Whatever it is that was the potential for causing drama, when we exaggerate it in a playful way, it diffuses it. Now, you may need to take some time apart.
Or you may need an extra long time for a hug. Notice, you may need both of those one time or another. I'm the guy who says, I always need that extra long hug.
And there's probably one of you that is more in the dance of closeness and separateness, one of you that's more leans towards wanting closeness, and one of you that leans towards wanting separateness. And you can negotiate, and you can get both, and you can both get your needs met. You might want to dance together. You might want to dance apart.
You may want to exercise together. You may want to do that apart as well. I find it's really good. One of my ways of restoring my sense of being present is to jump. But that's me, right? But it's a lot of movement. And in doing so, I can often go off on my own and jump around and do whatever. And I can put on a video as well. It helps. But it's, all of these are good things.
You may want to sit quietly and meditate. You may want to meditate together. Gay and Katie have this wonderful tool called the couples catalyst harmonizer that you can do together. We have these earphones that plug in together to it. And I mean, there's so many different things that can sort of shift your energy to the point where you can take that one step back and go, oh, wow, that's an upper limit.
Or something that we do is we get physical. And some people say, oh, we don't do anything like that. Well, we've developed this over the years, is that I'm not hurting her, but I'm just becoming close. And then we'll do silly things, okay? Okay, we laugh. We do things like
laughing together is a really good upper limit diffuser.
Or one of us will suddenly go and lick somebody's ear. Well, it's provocative, and then we start wrestling. Or as we get older, we wrestle less, but we just still do some of this.
Even just pushing against Bob when I've got that little bit of aggressive energy can really help diffuse it. Anyway, we're pretty much out of time. We've got 5 minutes.
Yeah, you've got time for a couple of questions. I know we had some people waiting. Yeah.
I'll say two things. There's an 8-page article on our website about the upper limit pattern. There's a picture of a graph of the upper limit pattern on our website under articles. We also have 2 fairly long podcasts, one about the upper limit pattern and one about the preemptive upper limit pattern on our front page of our website.
What's your
Yes.
website?
Our website, I think.
Yeah.
Michelle
I'm
will
putting those links in the chat. I just realized
Okay.
I was on mute.
MarleneandBob.com or
Bob and Marlene.
Marlene.com.
Marlene and Bob. Bob and Marlene.
We're Bob Marlene.
Questions? Yes, please.
Okay, Stephen?
Trying to remember where I heard this before, but it was something about when you're having an upper limit problem. And this is a little more advanced stage. I mean, I agree with your recommendation to identify it and just state that you're having it. But instead of letting it turn into a downward fall, or even before the upper limit kind of shows up, you do things to stabilize it. And I guess I'm thinking of breathing, moving, presencing. There's a lot of Hendricks tools to just sort of get stabilized at that level, and then build on that.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Very good tools there,
Yeah.
Stephen. Thank you. One thing that's important for me is to know the feelings in my body. What's the sensations that are happening? If I'm happy, how do I know here I'm happy?
And when that happiness is just
Yeah,
on the edge,
On the edge.
what do I need to ground, get present,
Uh-huh.
like you said, breathe, move your body, change your position, all those wonderful Hendricks tools we've learned.
Mhm. Thank you for that.
Somebody else? Or Michelle, did you have questions?
There was someone else. Anybody else want to ask one more question here? Go ahead and raise your electronic hand or wave your hand around. I'm looking through.
10-second miracle? Nina?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what he was just describing, feeling it, where it's coming from. That reminded me of the 10-second miracle.
Good.
Yeah.
Good book out of print.
We have got one.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think they still have Kindle version, because I got a Kindle version.
Oh, I didn't know that. Great.
They have a whole program like with audio with a workbook, and that's,
Great.
I put that as a resource on my website.
Yeah,
Excellent.
wonderful.
Well, we'll have to
Thank
look
you
it
for
up. I mean, we do have the book.
Thank you. So I want to just pause for a moment and thank you, Marlene and Bob and Marlene. Really, just what amazing wisdom that you're sharing so generously with all of us. I can't wait to check out your podcast, and you inspire me so much. And so thank you. And I want to thank everybody for showing up here today, and looking forward to seeing you the rest of the year and then into the new year. So if you want to unmute and say goodbye, that would be wonderful. Love to hear from all of you.
thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Bob.
Bye.
Thank you.
Comment.
Thank you.
Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you, Christina.
Bye,
Bye.
Christina.
Thank you, Bob and Marlene.
That was awesome.